All right, I do not have a whole lot of time because my phone battery is very low, but this is a time-sensitive matter. I want to talk about hazelnuts. There's a hazelnut shrub behind me here that we're looking at, and I want to talk about how you can tell when the hazelnuts are ripe. This is a time-sensitive matter because these hazelnuts are a highly desired food of many members of the ecosystem here. If you want to be getting hazelnuts, you need to be out there consistently checking, because as soon as they get ripe, you're going to want to pull them off of the shrub. This whole cluster just fell off in my hand. The way that you can tell if the hazelnuts are ripe is you want to see how this nut is moving inside the husk. Well, hold on, let me show you with this one. See how I can wiggle that nut inside the husk? That's how you know it's done. Let me see if I can find one that's not done. You can see there's some greener ones here. See if I can get, you can see inside that nut is actually still green. I'm not even going to attempt to roll that one. It is possible that these nuts were damaged by the drought and they're just drying up prematurely. We had a pretty bad drought. I'm surprised that they're ripe this early. This is early in August. You can see this one, I can't wiggle the nut. I'm trying as hard as I can. It is still solid in there. So we're gonna leave that one and say it's not ripe. But that's one quick way to assess if the nuts are ripe. As with any wild crop, there's going to be a wide range of ripeness on when the nuts or the fruit, whatever, is ripe. Some earlier, some later. Typically, I expect hazelnuts in our climate like mid to late August, typically late August, even into September. We're in early August here, and as you can see, some of these hazelnuts are ripe. So it's good to be checking early and consistently on all these types of wild crops, especially hazelnuts, because they are so highly desired. Specifically by rodents. You know, the rodents will come and climb up the tree and get the nuts before you do if you're not on it. I'm totally down to share some with the rodents, but I gotta make sure I get some. Another important thing to note is that you can pick hazelnuts slightly on the early side, and to some extent they can ripen off of the tree. This is the case with a lot of different fruits and nuts. There is a window, you know, if you pick them too early, they won't ripen off the tree, but there's a window where they're not fully ripe. You can pick them and let them ripen kind of on the counter. I typically like to wait until they're at least a little bit brown before I'll pick them and let them ripen. But what I typically do is I'll pick them all and I'll put them in some sort of breathable container like this wicker basket here. Let them sit for a few days, maybe even a week. That way any ones that were not fully ripe get a chance to kind of ripen a little bit. And then I'll start plucking them out of the husks. You can see this is a pretty good size distribution of what the nuts look like. I mean, I have pretty normal sized hands, and that is what the native hazelnuts look like that I've been collecting. They are really tasty. It's tempting to crack a lot of them and eat them, but I also want to save a lot for seed. So I need to find more to collect. Like I said, this was just the early batch. I'm uploading this video a little bit late, but you know, I was picking them early August. It's now middle of August as I'm updating, and I'm continuing to check all of my patches on a pretty consistent basis, waiting for more of them to ripen up. What's interesting was really only that one shrub was ripe super early. All the other places I checked, they still weren't ready yet. And I wonder again if the drought had affected those to ripen early, or, you know, who knows what was going on there. As always, when I'm doing seed stuff, Willow's in the room. She likes playing with all of the plant material, like little toys for her. You don't want to let these nuts dry out too much if you're using them as seed. In an ideal world, you would get them out of the husk and then plant them immediately. But if not, you can stratify them in the fridge or outdoor using buckets like I've talked about in other videos.